Hello, this is Gary Railsback, and I'd like to give you a quick introduction of Chapter 1. So, hopefully you have some positive attitudes or ideas about jumping into this course in statistics online. I've taught online in statistics before. And I think one of the good things about George Fox's DBA program is they do require a once a week Zoom session. And so I'll be setting up those and sending you information. So it's not going to just be you reading and writing on your own, but we're going to be working together. So let's get started on Chapter 1. So if you've looked at the chapter at all, you can see that Neil Salkind and his co-author Bruce Frey have a pretty good sense of humor. And so what they're saying here is it statistics or is it sadistics? Well, I hope it's not the latter, and it's really up to you. So I remember when I took my first statistics course in my doctoral program, I went to a Christian liberal arts college and we could either take math or science. I didn't think I liked math, so I took all my science courses. Then when I went to my first graduate program, it was in theology, and so we had no research method required. So when I started in my doctoral program, it was like, oh my goodness, I should have done this before. I'll tell you what, the book we used for that class was not like Salkind's book. This one is unintimidating, it's informative, there's application, and hopefully it'll be a little bit fun. One of the things that I found in my own personal introduction to statistics was it was very beneficial to jump in right away and use SPSS. If you haven't used that program before, it stands for the Statistical Package of the Social Sciences. The book will also show you how to do the calculations by hand, but I usually use SPSS. So my first class was in multiple regression, and we didn't do any SPSS. It was all theoretical, and to be honest, I didn't really understand it, and the only way I passed was by reverting to memorizing things that I didn't understand. In the second course, the author gave us a database, and we were using a mainframe version of SPSS, and the data was on the mainframe, and that's where I learned this. So as we get started in thinking about stats, we're going to do a quick little 5-minute history. Data's been around a long time, but as far as collecting it to understand populations, it's only been the 17th century. The need arose to develop specific tools to answer questions. And some of the basic statistical procedures were developed in the fields of agriculture, astronomy, and, believe it or not, politics. So statistics is a broad term. It's a set of tools and techniques used for describing, organizing, and interpreting information and data. There's two major branches of statistics, descriptive and inferential. Descriptive statistics is basically just describing the characteristics of your data set. The collection of data is sometimes called a data set or just data. Now, depending upon what part of the country or the world you're from, you'll probably notice that I pronounce that word data, and that's how I was taught it at UCLA. I know a number of people pronounce it data, and I've looked that up and they say both are correct. So if you've learned how to say data, I'll know what you mean, but I'm probably not going to pronounce it that way. One of the things that descriptive statistics does it helps you describe more than just a few people or a few things, and it makes that much easier to understand. So some examples of statistics, descriptive statistics, is we might figure out the average age of everyone in the class or the most popular major. So in the textbook, there's an opportunity for you to practice this, and I would encourage you to do that. The other branch of statistic is called inferential, and so that's where we're taking a set of data and we're inferring that it has characteristics of a larger set of data. So two terms that you really need to think about and get in your head is the difference between a sample and a population. So a sample is a subset of a population. For instance, if we wanted to do stats on all the graduate students at George Fox, that would be our population, all the students. And then let's say we took a subset of that group and we just looked at DBA students. They would be our sample. Some examples from inferential. Take 100 people with depression, split them up into two groups. This would be an experimental design. Group 1 would get a sugar pill. Group 2 would get the new depression drug. And what we're trying to find out is there a statistically significant difference that we can infer from those two samples? If there is a statistically significant sample, we might say, well, this would be a good drug to introduce in the market, and that's what the FDA does in our country. Statistics helps us to organize information, and a knowledge of statistics is important in many, many fields. You might think about some questions about why people take statistics. I'm not sure for a doctoral program it's going to look good on your transcript. It does set you apart. It's intellectually challenging. It's going to make you a better student, and it gives you a good foundation for what's coming up. Gives you a new perspective. For DBA students, it's going to help you learn how to research articles. So when you put together your lit review for your dissertation, it's going to help you do that. It'll also help you put together that lit review when you choose a topic and move forward. So there's a lot of ways to use this book. I would encourage you to review those. I know that because the class is online, you're probably all over the world or the country. So forming a study group may not be very easy, but it would be beneficial. I'd encourage you to use the exercises at the end of the chapter and then just practice. Always be looking for real-world applications. So I'm recording this on Thursday, August 7th. There's a real-world example that just happened with the government's Bureau of Labor Statistics. They do a jobs report on the first day of every month. They published it. The president didn't like it, and so that person was fired. Now, all that does is cause us questions. Can we actually trust that data? But that's the best example I could think of for today. A couple of things that are unusual about this book: it does have short little bios about people who love stats. And then there's also some tricks and procedures in the book that were invented by real people. There's a difficulty index, has little smiley faces to let you know how easy it is or hard. So the more smiley faces, it's easier, and if there's only one, tells you that's going to be harder. There's a glossary at the end of the book, and the words that you need to be aware of for this first week: generally, what is statistics, descriptive, and inferential, which we just went over. Real world stats gives you an example at the end of each chapter, and it demonstrates how to use a particular research method. So when we get to those later in the book, we'll see those. Wasn't that too bad? No, I don't think so. Make sure to continue to read, take it one chapter at a time, and use your resources. Chapters 1 to 17 and 19 have review exercises. When you get the syllabus and look at it, you'll see we're only going to do chapters 1 through 18. There's just too much to cover in a short-term course. And then look at Appendix B in the back of the book for the answers. There's also a student study site. So the website's there. It gives you practice quizzes. There's flashcards, original and curated videos. There's data sets, and there's more.